playing with confidence. Serves it inside 50.
Inside 50, good hands.
Drilling it into centre half forward. That was end-to-end football at its best.
Back-to-back goals either side of quarter time.
They've done it, the Bulldogs!
I'd fight somebody for you. There ain't no wall I would run through. In your corner when they're ringing the bell. Come hell or high water. I'd fight somebody for you.
Yes, g'day Waffle fans. Welcome one and all to another edition of Around the Waffle, and what a big edition we have got for you today as we look ahead to the Anzac Day weekend of football. One of the great traditions in the WAFL calendar. We'll look ahead to all the big matches in the Waffle and Waffle W this weekend, and as you can see, to my left, been missing for a week, but it's glad to have him back. Ethan Roth, my talented right-hand man. First off, Rothy, how you going?
Yeah, good, thanks, Paul. Great to be back in what a weekend as well, the Anzac tradition, so a few big matchups that we're looking forward to.
Absolutely. We'll have a big preview of all those matches, round 4 of the Waffle and round 5 of the ATCO Waffle W season in 2026. All matches with plenty of intrigue, so you won't want to miss our big preview of those. We've got to Ask Us Anything, a couple of great questions on the socials. We really appreciate all your feedback so far in 2026. We've got Xavier Milner from the East Perth Football Club set to join us in a matter of moments, looking ahead to that massive game on Anzac Day against Perth, which has become a great tradition on the WA football calendar. But some news in during the week, Rothy. Of course, you've been all around the Waffle W circles for the last couple of years, especially through the state game, which has been announced as far as the WA squad is concerned, an extended squad of 27. Yeah,
it's a big squad, isn't it? And a few teams with a lot of representatives. Subiaco come to mind with a lot of representatives off the top. So, that squad will get cut down, obviously, to a final team. But, looking forward to that triple header that'll be on May 16th.
Yes, of course, the women's state game will be on at 12:40 at Sullivan Logistics Stadium on May 16th. Trent Cooper, the chairman of selectors, very excited about this squad. He says that there's a lot of balance in that squad, and that balance may catch South Australia off guard on May 16th, especially when you've got 6 representatives from Subiaco, 5 for Claremont and Perth as well. So Perth have gone in with a lot of representation thanks to their successful expansion season.
Yeah, and a good balance between experience and youth. There's a few young players coming up and some players who are new to their Waffle W clubs but have been recruited from AFLW and whatnot who get a taste for state footy as well to maybe put their name back on the radar.
Swan Districts with 2 representatives, West Perth with 1. As you can see, the full state squad, 27-player squad for the Waffle W state game, and Peel Thunder the only side not to have representation, which is a bit unfortunate considering they've got a very good couple of players in the form of Chloe Wrigley and Tiama Collard.
Yeah, it's always a tough one when players are going to miss out, but I think that provides good selection headaches. So, I guess those players will have to watch on and, envy for next year.
Absolutely. Jack Schwartz leading the charge on May 16th. Speaking of Peel Thunder, your thoughts on Trey Bennell? Of course, earlier in the week, he retired after a spectacular decade at Peel Thunder, over 120 games, a premiership player, a very decorated defender over there at the Thunder.
Yeah, inaugural premiership player, all part of that inaugural, back-to-back flags that they won. So, obviously very talented player. Sort of had a couple of goes at it, came back and that sort of thing. And, should be celebrated a terrific career and that many games. It's not too often we'll see that replicated, I think, from a start out from here on.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on a great career, Trey. We wish you all the very best in what lies ahead. Now, you've also been involved with Colts, Colts' heavy schedule in season 2026, and you've kept an eye on the State 18s program, and it's expanded this year, especially with the backing from Amy, proud supporters of WAFL football. They've got the first of 6 games this week as far as trials are concerned for the State 18 Championship.
Yeah, that's right. So it's usually just a few games that they've added 2 onto the there's 4 championship games and 6 practice games. So still more practice games than championship games, but that gives a bit of an extra lean in for the team to gel and see what the squad looks like coming together. But it's an exciting time and some good players to miss out on that, which shows how much depth we've got this year.
Especially after the results of the last 2 under-18 championships, which have been subpar for West Australia. Do you think these added trial matches will increase the chance of WA improving in the championship this year?
Yeah, I don't think it can hurt. I mean, pretty reluctant to say that they'll do better because I think last year they were pretty highly touted, only won the 1 game. But I mean, that was a reflection of the other states being really strong as well. So, hopefully they'll do better. But we'll have to wait and see.
Anyone from the 18 squad pick that stands out to you?
There's a lot. I think, Leo Steed has really put his name on the radar. Played league footy this year, kicked a goal on Swan District's debut. He's a player that is probably in their best team, starting on the field now. You could just go about all of them, really, I think. So, yeah, some good midfield depth, some good forward depth, a few small forwards as well flying around. Finio, the likes of Cam Maynard as well to electrify, but then they complement the key forwards as well, and some good ruck stocks in there as well.
Very good talent on display for West Australia very shortly. It begins later this year. The Under-18 Championship opening encounter is against South Australia at Mineral Resources Park. Now, let's get down to business, Rothy. A big Anzac Day weekend coming up. And East Perth, they're under the spotlight. They've lost 2 of their first 3 games, and both of them by less than 3 goals. And they want to bounce back, and they want to bounce back in a big way against the Perth Football Club. One of their keys is a young gun that is ready to electrify. Xavier Milner, he's our guest today on Around the Waffle. Xavier, how you going, mate?
Good, thanks, guys. How are you?
Going very well. Great to have you on Around the Waffle. First question, on this occasion, the Anzac Day game, what does it mean to you and the players of the East Perth Football Club to partake in this tradition on Saturday against Perth, which has been a sort of a traditional fixture in the Waffle in recent years?
Yeah, 100%. It just goes back to the history that it comes through, and we're just lucky enough to be able to put these nice jumpers that we get to wear this weekend, which will be nice. But yeah, pretty much goes back to the history for us about the wars and stuff like that. So we're really going to take it charging through, I think.
And you've locked down a spot so far in this league side this year after the back of last year, breaking through. How have you rated your own season so far, and I guess your position, running off half back and using your left foot when you need?
Yeah, so last year was sort of good. I was in and out of the side a little bit, which was a lot of learning for me. And then, going into pre-season, sort of had a strong pre-season, sort of found my sort of role position off that half back. And I think that I've sort of cemented my spot now, which has been good so far.
What part has Coach Ross McQueen played in helping you define your role as that key half-back and generating some penetration into the midfield? What does the part of the coach have to do with a role like that?
He's pretty much just told me early what my role was going to be, and then sort of given me a player to sort of play like, which is Harrison McCready for us. He's more of an interceptor, but Ross has sort of told me and helped me out to sort of play that role as similar to him and sort of get us moving forward off that back line, which has helped a lot at the start. He told me early.
And what's your read on Perth? They've had a bit of a up and down year so far. They've had a couple of wins, one real tight one, and then a smashing in round 1. But then they lost comprehensively to South Freo. So you have to be at your best. But what's your read on them? And I guess the key is to stopping their influence.
Yeah, 100%. Like, they've got Charlie Constable in there, Sandover medalist, so he's obviously going to be strong, which will be tough for us, but I'm sure that we will get up and about early on them, and hopefully as backs we sort of stop the forwards and not get 7 kicked on us like we did last year, so hopefully we come out charging.
Will Hamish Brayshaw be back in the side? He hasn't played since the grand final. He's had some calf troubles during the pre-season. He's expected, according to some, to come back on Saturday. Will he return?
I'm not sure on that one, but yeah, he is looking fit and healthy at the moment. He's been running really well, nice and quick, and he is looking fit, but I think that's up to Ross and the coaching group, which I think they discussed last night, so we'll find out tomorrow night at our captain's run whether he's in and out, but I think he's looking really strong to be able to play this weekend if he was to, so yeah.
Fingers crossed we do get to see Hammer back out on the field. It's been a long, long time, and like you, Hammer can electrify. Xavier, we really appreciate your time here on Around the Waffle. All the best against the Demons on Anzac Day.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
That was Xavier Milner, East Perth young gun, joining us here on Around the Waffle. That will be the big $64,000 question in the eyes of East Perth fans. Will Hammer return?
Yeah, so watch this space. They'll no doubt be better if he is. But, we'll have to wait and see. I guess we can't expect too much from him. Obviously, he's a big game player, but first game back after the grand final. So if he does come back, he'll look to work into his groove, but I think they wouldn't put him out there unless he was pretty much ready.
And they want to take that cautious approach like West Perth did with Aaron Black and the bruised ribs. Fingers crossed he plays on Sunday against South Fremantle. We'll preview those games and more after the break here on Around the Waffle. You're watching on the Around the Waffle YouTube channel, an amalgamation with Front Row Screens and Associates with the WA Sporting Hub, and also backed by our wonderful partners, Sullivan Logistics, proud supporters of Waffle in 2026, Front Row Screens Sport, District Promotions, and of course Grant's Car Stereo in Morley. Great supporters of Around the Waffle. We'll have a big preview of the Anzac Day round right after this.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle, your go-to waffle podcast in season 2026. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you as we look ahead now to the Anzac Day weekend, and what a weekend it is going to be. Starting off fittingly with a traditional Anzac Day clash. We spoke with Xavier Milner about it a little earlier. The Royals looking to bounce back against the Perth side, coming off a tight win against Peel Thunder. They clash at Mineral Resources Park live on 7plus at 2:10 on Saturday. This is shaping up to be what could be a season-defining game. I know it's early, but it could be season-defining for both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't underestimate, this game being an 8-point game for old time's sake. I think, they're two proud traditional teams, two teams that have been projected to go high up the ladder this year. Perth probably wasn't super convincing against Peel Thunder. Obviously, they came away with the chocolates, and sometimes you have to win ugly, and East Perth have had a few blemishes, so they'll want to be ready for this one.
Both likely to have big comebacks via injury, and by that I mean players returning. Blake Schlinsog, could he come back? He's expected to be tested later in the week in the aim for a return against East Perth, and likewise with Hamish Brayshaw. If both those players do come back, what a boost that's going to be for both clubs.
Even Brandon Parfitt, I know, has been put on the radar to come back as well, so he is a player that they'd love to have back in their lineup. They dealt with it reasonably well, obviously being a result that they wanted in a win without no Parfitt, but I guess it's a problem they haven't had to deal with since he's been at the club, so if they can get him back, then they'll get that reassurance back in the midfield. So, we'll see what happens in terms of the ins and outs.
Certainly will be interesting. We'll have those team changes out on our socials on Friday night here on the Around the Waffle social, so make sure you keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. The battle in the ruck is also going to be one of intrigue. Josh Edwards against Scotty Jones. Dare I say it, Edwards has got his work cut out for him. Jones got a little bit more muscle on him, has a bit of a distinct height advantage, so it's going to be not only the battle of the tap-out ruck, but also how they follow up around the ball. Yeah,
that's where Edwards can probably look to get some agility, but I think he has to first and foremost obviously focus on the contest, and it's something he's not used to. While he's still very young, he's an experienced waffle ruck, you'd have to say. He's come up against a lot of these opponents before, so doesn't mean it's much easier for him, but it's going to be a challenge, of course.
Both meetings last year were one apiece. Perth defeated East Perth in this fixture last year, but East Perth fought back, winning by 80 points in round 14 at Leederville later in the year. So who's going to break that ledger in the last few meetings? Only time will tell. The forward line is also going to be one of conjecture as far as their continuity, because Perth did look a little bit unpredictable in the game against Pure Thunder. They weren't able to hit their targets, but having said that, they had Jack Kluski bobbing up with 4 goals. Aaron Clark got 2. But the East Perth backline, I reckon, is going to have the biggest task. They're going to try and make that Perth forward line look very predictable. Yeah, they will. And, obviously they're pretty good down there, East Perth, like Harrison McCready, Stan Wright. They have a good balance of, attack and defence. Obviously, I guess Xavier Milner has added to that as well. So, they probably want a bit more support up the ground. But, obviously, it's a full team performance. Could be a battle of pace and aggression between both sides. Who wins?
I've gone Perth. I think, I think
it's big.
I'm still projecting them to go on to big things this year. So as I am with East Perth, to be fair, but backing Perth. I think at home as well, they're pretty tough to beat, and they'll have the loyal fan base behind them. It's a venue-only game when you're looking at who you're going to predict. I'm looking at it as a venue game. I think Perth can get up because it is at Mineral Resources Park. Perth have proven to be tough to beat over there at Lathlane in the last couple of years, but I won't be surprised if East Perth bob up and fight back after that loss last weekend over there at Leederville Oval to East Fremantle. But
Perth, for me, at home, will be very close, but it should be a very exciting game. Speaking of exciting, the next game is at Sullivan Logistics Stadium, 2:30 live on 7+. Subiaco and Peel Thunder both are looking to bounce back from losses last week. Peel Thunder under a bit of more pressure. They're staring down the barrel of 3 in a row.
Yeah, especially since they lost with 13 AFL listed players. I know 5 of those guys haven't played AFL before and they're very new onto the list. So that, number can, you can make of it what you will in that sense. But yeah, Subiaco obviously, they need to bounce back. They gave up what was a 5-goal lead in the second quarter against the Eagles. That would not please Jared Schofield. They definitely let that one out there. So they'll want to bounce back and Peel Thunder. I expect them to be a pretty settled lineup in terms of probably not super amount of changes for Fremantle.
Yeah, would you expect the 12 to 13 listed AFL players remain? They'll have 13 listed AFL players for that game, because how Jeremy Sharp hasn't got an opportunity at Fremantle, I'll never know. His last 3 weeks have been nothing short of brilliant. If he doesn't get selected by Fremantle, I reckon he'll have something to prove, and his motivation will lead him to another 30-possession game. He's going to be my player in focus for Peel.
Yeah, he's done really well. I don't know. I think the stats can be a bit misleading with him at times. I think, yes, he's getting high 30 disposals, and that's not taking away from, he probably was Peel's best, but I just feel like sometimes he gets the ball and he doesn't dispose of it as good as the stats might say, and I think that's probably what's holding him back from Fremantle selection, of course, on top of them winning games. I think that can be a bit deceiving at times, but I think obviously he's going to be a very hard player for Subiaco to shut down, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does get off the chain once again.
The better finishing team is going to win this match, because both sides have had horrible last quarters in the last couple of weeks. When you think about it, Subiaco gave up that 5 goals, 5 to the Eagles in that last quarter. Peel had their chances but couldn't finish it off in front of goal, hence a 1-point loss. So it's going to be all about if the game is in the balance at three-quarter time. It was similar to Swan Districts and West Perth in round 3. Who's going to be the more settled team after three-quarter time, and they can go on a big run on the last quarter? I reckon Adam Reid and Jared Schofield, the respective coaches, are going to hammer that message home at three-quarter time.
Yeah, and I think both will think they're genuine chances to win this. They'll always say that no matter who they verse, but I think these two teams will fancy themselves as favourites.
Subiaco's forward line needs to be a little more flexible, especially when the game is in the balance. They had Petruccelli as that key forward, kicking 4 goals, but Mayo, Sokol didn't really get into it. I want to see them get more involved in that forward 50 and get more involved in that ground ball, because Peel Thunder's backline can often be punishing. Yeah,
and they did get into the game obviously when they were piling on those goals, but they were probably a result of the team falling away. But interesting to see what happens with Jacob Bly, his former team, if he comes back as well.
If he does come back, I reckon Peel are in trouble, because he can really mop them down with his intercept marking and his gather at ground level. Considering that he had an AFL opportunity with Richmond a couple of years ago, but didn't really materialise. But now he's back at Subiaco. He's got a new lease on life.
And he knows Peel Thunder as good as anyone. I know there's probably been some players there who have been drafted since he left the club, but he has a good read of how Adam Reid wants to play the game.
Who wins?
Subiaco for mine, I think. Yeah, at home. Peel, bit unpredictable. Subiaco are as well, but I'll back the Lions in. I think what they showed against East Perth in the open of the season, I think they want to replicate that, and I think they might.
I'll back the Lions in as well, but also in a tight encounter. I reckon this one is going to go right down to the wire, and so could this one at Revo Fitness Stadium. Claremont and East Fremantle on Anzac Day from 2:30 on 7+. They played a cracker last year, round 16 at East Fremantle. You were on the call for that one with Declan Mountford in game 100, kicking the winning goal. Could we see another game like that this time?
Yeah, hopefully from a neutral perspective, it's a close one like that. And obviously Claremont are no stranger to close games in recent weeks, obviously getting over Peel by under a couple of goals, and then breaking South Fremantle's long streak the weekend just gone. So, they want it to not be as close for their sake. But I think, East Fremantle, they've probably exceeded expectations so far.
They certainly have. They've really taken us by surprise. We expected them to struggle this year. I even put them down as far as 9th on the ladder, but I'll take my hat off to them. They've really caught everybody by surprise, but the way they've been able to contain possession and dominate around the ground ball, especially through the likes of Baskerville and also Eric Benning, who's getting better in the ruck as well. And Cameron Erdley, 31 touches last week in that in that win over East Perth, really shows signs of how versatile he is. And he's going to have to be against a stacked Claremont lineup. Alec Waterman, could he come back and provide that extra option in the forward line for the Tigers at the same time?
Yeah, they're very versatile, as we've come to know for the Tigers. You're right about Erdley. He just seems to get better with age. And I think Oscar Smart, he's been one of the reasons why East Fremantle have done better than what we thought. He's just yeah, I mean, he's giving the energy with his, the way he carries himself, but he's backing it up on the field with his performances.
It's a completely different forward line, not just Smart, as you mentioned, with 4 goals, but you got Liam Robinson, the former Norwood player, in there. He bobbed up with a couple. East Fremantle's forward line looks very energised, re-energised, if you will, especially after the departures of Cody Leggett and company, who were the anchors in that forward line. Those two provide a good two-way punch in attack.
Yeah, sometimes you need that to freshen things up, and I think sometimes, you kind of just need that, and unpredictability can be the best way moving forward. I think Smart sort of plays on the edge and likes to play that way.
What's also going to be a key for Claremont is the way their on-ballers can dominate. If they can dominate possession early, that'll take the run out of East Fremantle's game. Having said that, Claremont like to play that contested ball. We saw that with Alvarez, England, Mainwaring, who's evolved tremendously. I spoke with Ash Prescott about that during our recap show earlier this week, and his evolvement is a testament to the hard work he's put in over the summer. For Claremont, Mainwaring will be the key, along with England on Saturday.
Yeah, especially after that win, spirits will be high, and I think Mainwaring, he's sort of like that Oscar Smart mold. He really lifts his teammates around him, but he backs it up on the field with his performances, outside of, what he can do to get under opponent's skin. So, it's a good call. I think he's going to really feed off, that win last week when he played a crucial role.
Honestly, I'm expecting this one to be a shootout. I think Claremont have got 2 great forwards. You've got Gowdy and DeLacy. They're up against Smart and Robinson. I reckon this one could be a shootout.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think cast your mind back to the last couple of years. There's been a couple of blowouts, but I think this time, East Fremantle have a different approach, and Claremont, they're doing a lot right. They haven't lost a game. So, I think they'll go into warm favourites. But, East Fremantle wouldn't put it past them to maybe cause a boil over.
But you got to make a pick. Who wins?
Claremont for mine. I think at home, I think they'll get the job done and, go 4-0 and really push on to be the benchmark of this comp.
I won't be surprised if East Fremantle do get the points, but I've gone with Claremont because it's at home and they play Revo Fitness Stadium incredibly well. I saw their game against Peel Thunder in round 2, and the way they finished it off in that last quarter was just exceptional. But I won't be surprised if East Fremantle get up. They'll make it a very tight fight, no doubt, at Revo Fitness Stadium. But Claremont, we've both agreed. But this one carries a lot of intrigue. Who would thought we'd be saying that 12 months ago? Swan Districts and the West Coast Eagles, Sunday from 1:10 at Mineral Resources Park on 7+. I'll be on the call with Denham Melrose for this one. Should be a beauty. Preparing for this game 12 months ago would have been a drag, but now it's not the case.
Well, you cast your mind back, maybe not quite 12 months ago, but thereabouts. We obviously called these two teams together at Steel Below Oval.
That's right.
There was a few highlights in that game, Tom Gross notably and Harry Barnett. And then, I did the one later in the year as well between these two teams, which was actually a close game where Aiden Cartwright kicked the winner. So there's a little bit of maybe a modern rivalry, which you wouldn't have thought building up between these teams. And, it's a highly anticipated game. So, the Eagles, who knows if they can go 3-0. That's another thing we probably wouldn't have put on the radar.
No, absolutely not. And there's one key number that is on everybody's mind. 12. And that's Swan District's games they've played against the Eagles, 12. Wins, 12. The Swans are the only team the Eagles have not beaten. Is this their best chance to crack the streak?
You'd have to think so. I mean, streaks are made to be broken, right? So that's a bit of added motivation for Kyle Horsley's men. Not that they really need much, considering that it's not too often we're talking about them going for 3 on the trot.
What's also been impressive for the Eagles is that last year they were poor in the third quarter. They faded away. This time they've been brilliant in last quarters. They've won 2 of their last 3 quarters so far this season, up against the likes of West Perth and Swan Districts in the last 2 weeks. Okay, all those games so far have been played at Lathlane, and that gives them a bit of an advantage. But the way they've been able to finish off games through the likes of Gross, Hall, Jack Williams, Bailey Williams, who subsequently got selected into the AFL side, and Malachi Champion, who was magnificent against his old side last weekend, that's going to be another spark for the Eagles, is that mobile forward line.
Yeah, it is. Jack Williams has been in some good form. Malachi Champion as well. Clay Hall should be playing AFL, to be honest. There's calls for more hardness and more inside mid players, especially with Robertson going down. I think, he should be playing. He's been in good form. Hits the scoreboard as well, which is probably something he's added to his game. So, I think this is another opportunity for him to prove himself against the Black Ducks.
And another opportunity for Swan Districts to really make a statement that they've got a good two-way backline. Will Collins is that key intercept marker. He was brilliant in the last quarter against West Perth. And Jarvis Pena, who we had as the top gun for round 3 with the 5 votes in our recap show, his creativity off the half-back line really needs to be on 100% from go to woe against a mobile Eagles forward line. The way he can gather the ball off half-back and provide some great forward line penetration through his direct possession through the corridor is going to be a real key for Swans. I reckon Pena and Collins, they're going to be the focus on Swans on Sunday.
Yeah, I think, and Collins obviously thinks his old side as well, where he briefly spent 6 months on their AFL list for the Eagles on their books. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch this space in terms of the matchups there, and amazing in the sense of Jarvis Pena, what can happen when you get a good run at it. Hopefully that continues for him. He's a very popular figure, I know, at the Swan Districts Footy Club.
We talked about the Eagles spark in their forward line. Swan Districts have got a spark. William Reedy, I said last week, when he's got the ball in his hand, he's a freak, and I reckon he can produce some more magic on Sunday.
They've got a few players like that. McLaughlin, even Provost as well is good in the air and at ground level in his early WAFL days. So yeah, they've got a number of those guys that can drift forward. Obviously, we spoke about Leo Steed. He's earned his opportunity at league level as well.
Who does win?
I've gone for the Eagles 3 in a row, and who would have thought after a few weeks ago I said how long is this going to continue in terms of them getting badly beaten on a regular basis. So I've kind of flipped that in a short space of time, and I've said that they're going to finally get a win over the Swan Districts for the first time.
Normally I would chastise you for tipping the Eagles and call you a fool, but I will not this time. I reckon you present a good case for the Eagles this time with the way they've been competitive. They've exceeded everybody's expectations, including ours this season, so I'll give them credit, but I'm still going to go with Swans. I feel with that win on the board, it's going to give them a lot of confidence, and they can build on this. They want to bank those wins in the next 3 weeks in order to really stake their claim as a team that can contend for a spot in the 5. I'll go with Swan Districts, but I reckon it'll be close. It's going to be a great game of footy on Sunday. Can't wait to head out there for the call. But this one's set to be a cracker as well. Well, maybe, but hopefully for West Perth's sake, because on Sunday, live on Channel 7, 2:10pm, HIF Health Insurance Oval plays host to the Falcons and the Bulldogs. And I'll say right off the bat, Rothy, the Bulldogs are seething, and they'll be out for blood after having their streak snapped.
Yeah, you fear a little bit for West Perth, considering their recent form. So yeah, South Fremantle will be very eager for Sunday to come around. Good to have a couple of Sunday fixtures as well on the long weekend, and this one on free-to-air TV, so it's an opportunity for these two teams to show what they're made of on the big stage.
Especially South Fremantle, because obviously without Matty Parker, their midfield dynamic was a little bit disjointed, but they still had the likes of Florica and Bledgington getting a lot of the football. But it's going to be how hungry they are. And we said last year after the loss to the Eagles, having a loss is not such a bad thing. Is that same approach going to be applied to the Bulldogs, even though it's against a lower-ranked team on the ladder, for that matter, the bottom team on the ladder?
That was exactly on my mind. I agree. I mean, you never want to lose a game, as we say, but I mean, sometimes when the streaks get, into the 20s, as perhaps they were eyeing off, or high teens, I think to start a fresh slate, and you look what happened last year. They lost that game to the Eagles. Okay, different circumstances, and not comparing West Perth with a proud history to a team like the Eagles, but sometimes it's not the worst thing. And they only lost by a kick in the end as well against Claremont. Like Musica, if that goes either way, if they don't get that passage of play with Mainwaring through the middle, we're not talking about a South Fremantle team.
But they
hungry.
Also kicked 8 behinds. Keep in mind, South Fremantle, they couldn't convert. If they converted on 1 or 2 chances, maybe they would have won. So that's something that they need to work on this week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. I think the hunger thing probably won't be an issue, though, for them.
West Perth, I reckon one thing they must do is put Shane Nelson back in that side. I think it was a mistake by the West Perth selectors to drop Shane Nelson. Despite being in great form, he had 32 disposals the week before in the loss to the Eagles, but it still bamboozles me to an extent why they would drop him. Okay, you want to have team balance and build for the future, but Shane Nelson still can go, and I reckon the selectors made a bit of a mistake. They've got to bring him back in. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a fine line with making a statement and, obviously putting your best team out there still. I don't know the exact reason why he was dropped, so I guess it's hard to comment, but you just expect it won't be too long before he finds himself in the league team again, and for his sake, he'd be hoping that's against the Bulldogs.
Aaron Black's also hoping to be back. I spoke with him in the pre-game against Swan Districts of Bassendean. If he had it his way, he would have played, and he's hoping to play on Sunday. If he can get in along with Nelson, that's a boost for the Falcons.
It is, absolutely. There's so much experience, and for a team like the experience at South Fremantle, they need to be able to combat that as much as possible through those players.
And fingers crossed Matty Parker comes back as well, so there's a lot of intrigue around the players set to return or still far away from returning. But the key for me for South Fremantle is how they retain their game plan. They're fast, all-out attacking. They've got great pace up the ground and in midfield as well. It's about how they retain it and make good use of the vast spaces of HIF Health Insurance Oval, because it is a big ground.
It is. I feel like South Fremantle don't play there too often. We're not too used to see it. It's usually them, West Perth, going down to Fremantle, but a good opportunity. They've had a good record there in recent times when they have gone there, South Freo, so they'll be eyeing off another win, and it's what is probably the furthest trip for them when they'll play outside of regional grounds.
Who does win?
South Fremantle for mine, pretty comfortably in the end. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is the biggest margin of the week.
I would think so. South Fremantle in a canter, I will say. I think West Perth are going to be in for a long afternoon because the Bulldogs are going to be out for blood. Let us know what game you're going to check out over the Anzac Day weekend. Of course, you can check it out on 7plus, live and free. If you can't make the game, it's going to be a wonderful Saturday out there. Beautiful conditions. Not so much on Sunday. There's going to be a bit of rain around, so it could be the great leveller on Sunday.
Hopefully, for the sake of the underdog teams, that could be a good omen. Maybe we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see, indeed, no doubt. Rothy's Colts Report is back. That'll be after the break here on Around the Waffle, and then we'll get right into the WAFL W action, round 5 of the ATCO WAFL W season, and you'll have that right after the break here on Around the Waffle on your podcast service and on YouTube. We'll see you soon.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you, your Thursday preview show as we look ahead to the Anzac Day long weekend. And after it was missing in action on Monday, it's back. The Colts Report, Rothy, EGT Waffle Colts action this long weekend. Plenty of great action.
There is, and it starts on Friday night with Subiaco and Peel. And I think Peel, honestly, this could be their best chance for a win for the first time since round 15, 2024. It's been a long time in the making. And Subiaco, they had a hit out against Wesley College because they had the bye, obviously, with no Eagles Colts team. And they belted Wesley, obviously, in the PSA in a practice game. So, I mean, there'll be some confidence taken from that, but nothing like, I guess, coming back from a bye and putting on a good showing. They're obviously still searching for their first win of the season, as are Peel. So, I'm actually going to tip Peel.
Whoa!
They have to win a game for the first time since that fixture in 2024. And I think they might.
They could be in with every chance to win that first game in 2 years. Big call, brave call from you. What about the Perth-East Perth clash? That also is shaping up to be a good one.
Yeah, it is. Perth, obviously, we know, where they're at in East Perth. Good win over Swan Districts and in the Super Round, and also beating Subiaco. So I think they're probably flying better than we thought, and I think they'll get the job done over Perth. Moving over to Sunday, a couple of fixtures. Claremont against East Freo. Claremont obviously lost their first game in a while against South Freo in that grand final rematch on the weekend.
That was a great game. South Fremantle got out of jail, didn't they?
They did, I think. And then, we look at East Fremantle. They probably haven't really been challenged up until now. They've got, 40-point wins against a few sides. This is probably their biggest challenge, and I think it goes without saying it's game of the round, this one. Claremont and East Freo on the Colts. I'm going to say Claremont to bounce back. They don't often lose 2 games in a row, and I think East Fremantle, not by any means saying they need a reality check. They've won games of footy comprehensively, but a lot will be taken out of this one. Obviously, these two teams versed in 2 finals last year, so a bit of a rivalry building, but I'll back the Tigers. And then the last game on Sunday, after the league game, West Perth and South Fremantle. South Fremantle obviously went to Joondalup, fond memories in recent times, and it belted Perth. But 85 points. Different opponent coming up against West Perth, who, still you'd think will make top 5 at an early stage, but I think the Bulldogs will continue their winning ways.
It's a bit of a stretcher for night games in West Perth because they've got about 4 or 5 straight night games, including the one they had last week, a good 42-point win over Swan District. So West Perth making the most of a good draw as far as playing time is concerned because they've got a lot of night games and they play pretty well under lights.
Yeah, and obviously that experience, but South Fremantle had a night game against Claremont last week after the league, so they're a bit more suited to it now as well. So should be a cracker under lights there. Of course, all the Colts games on YouTube as well.
Absolutely, we can't wait for it. And so will the WAFL W games, and we're going to go to that right now. Round 5 of the ATCO WAFL W season. And of course, Rothy, the main man as far as the WAFL W commentary is concerned. He's been on fire this season, I'll tell you that much. We start on Friday. What a game this one is going to be. Perth, they're pretty much on the bounce following a great win against Peel Thunder over the weekend. But the problem is they've got the unbeaten Swans. This is a big challenge for the maturing Demons for season 2026. And why I say that, they're growing as a team. They're growing as a team with continuity and chemistry on the field. And they've got a coach in Steph Waddling who's very experienced. But they're going to need all of that to take on the early premiership favourites, Swan Districts. They are gunning for 5 out of 5.
Yeah, and expect them to come into this one warm favourites, especially with the form that players have carried. Jamie Henry, we've sung her praises many a time, deservingly, and expect them to be no real trouble for this one. Although West Perth obviously did push Swans, so nothing's guaranteed, of course, and Swans have been another team who've adapted to night footy as well. So I think Swan Districts goes without saying. I'm going to tip them, but. Hopefully Perth can throw up a good challenge.
It's going to be a good challenge for Perth, no doubt about that. But for Swans, they've got depth aplenty. I mean, we sung Jamie Henry's praises a lot. Summer Juk obviously has been going good so far this season. Tamsin Barros in the ruck filling in as a result of Lauren Quaif's suspension. She really held her own in the ruck against West Perth over the weekend, and I think she's going to make a real big difference in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, very athletic and looks like she's taken opportunity with both hands and versatile. So they've got a number of players who've stepped up off the back of their grand final appearance last year who just look as determined as ever.
Would you think Henry would be matched up by Isabella Shannon in the centre on Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the logical matchup at this stage. And, 2 contested players. Obviously, Shannon plays probably a bit more outside, but hard to fault anything that Henry's doing at the moment. She's definitely making a few, head scratch in terms of why she still isn't on the AFLW list yet.
Well, 24 WAFL W Player of the Year votes at the moment after 4 rounds certainly is providing that head scratching. You've had her as top gun 3 times this year, and no wonder.
Yeah, no favouritism, of course. She's just obviously done it out of pure skill and pure consistency.
And they've got a very skillful team, haven't they, Swan Districts? They've just been all over their opponents like a cheap suit when you're looking at how they've been able to control possession, how they've penetrated the forward 50, how they've delivered in front of goal. They're just a team that has had that extra fire in the belly, and against, so far, half of the opponents, they've been able to get the job done.
Yeah, and I suppose it's their ability to take transition and, take the ball from one end to the other. I fear for Perth that they're going to be on the end of, a lot of fast footy and transition footy, but for their sake, I mean, there's no better challenge, right?
Shannon, Karlshausen, Warren are going to be the real keys, and also a couple of their forwards may be in for a long night, Perth, but they do love a challenge. Let's hope they can rise to it. You've gone the Swans. I've also gone with the Swans, I think very comfortably when you're looking at it on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. I think hopefully it's a good game of footy, and Perth can stretch them for as long as possible. But I think when that final siren sounds, I'd be shocked if Swans don't come away with another win.
It should be a good game, that one. Friday night at 7:30 live on the WAFL YouTube channel. We've got another night game on the Saturday, which is the only Saturday game of round 5. It's at 5:20, Sullivan Logistics Stadium, Subiaco and Peel Thunder. Now, Peel Thunder were overrun against Perth in the second half. Subiaco fresh off the bye. And I think the bye could have come at a real good time last week because Subiaco have looked a little bit scratchy so far in 2026. They haven't been able to go to the levels as they did when they reached the preliminary final. I'm not sure what's missing in that Subiaco side, but if they can beat Peel Thunder by a big margin, then that's going to really settle the nerves for the lineup.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say they're back if they do win it, but I think they'll continue on, and sometimes it's just piling on the wins and playing who's in front of you. So, I mean, interesting. They probably would have wanted to play after that East Perth win, but can't control when your buyers are, and a night showing for them come Saturday.
Forward line's still a real concern. I still don't think they've found an option to replace Olivia Wolmerans at this time. It's been all up to their goal-kicking mids.
Yeah, you won't replace her.
No.
I think that's, but they can obviously try their best and find other players and collectively come together more so, which, they've done. They've probably improved a little bit, but another good opportunity for them to put stamp their authority in that aspect against Peel.
I think Peel Thunder may be in with a slight chance, because obviously with Chloe Wrigley back from suspension, not putting the onus on one player, she played a great game with over 30 disposals in that loss to Perth, but they've also been able to find some avenues to goal. They didn't look as predictable last week against Perth, and maybe the margin maybe flattered them a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they'll take some learnings out of what East Perth did in the first half against Subiaco, albeit they couldn't run with them. But if they can take their opportunities against the Lions, then that'll go a long way.
It'll be Wrigley versus Petrevski, you would think. On the ball, great matchup, getting plenty of possessions. It'll be tough to pick a winner out of this one, because they've both got great pace and they're both very steady on their feet. Yeah,
they are. And I think Wrigley probably has that added level to hit the scoreboard as she's done. So that's maybe one area where she can look to expose Petrevski. But obviously she's still got to be physical in the contest and win the ball. And if she's not doing that, then help out the other mids, which usually is what they're trying to do to support Wrigley.
With that in mind, who wins?
Yes, it's Subiaco, not with heaps of conviction, but I'll say the Lions to get another win on the board.
Yeah, I'll say the Lions as well, maybe by about 3 goals. Maybe you want to see a more competitive Peel Thunder side than what we saw last week against Perth, although they did get them to within less than 3 goals in that game. Now we go to an unusual morning match in the WAFL W. Sunday morning, 9:15 at HIF Health Insurance Oval, live on the WAFL YouTube channel. West Perth and South Fremantle. This one should be very interesting. West Perth have been able to push sides like Swan Districts and Claremont, just haven't been able to get it done, and especially their starts in the first half are a bit of a concern. South Fremantle, they've got Ash Gomes in that side, they've got, of course, Palmer's back, Polomeno, but it's been a mixed bag for them this season. This game will determine where they're truly at.
Yeah, looking forward to calling this one on YouTube on Sunday morning. Bit of an early start, but yes, West Perth and South Fremantle. I was really impressed with South Fremantle, to be fair, against Claremont. I think the 23-point deficit didn't reflect the game. They were right with them the whole way. They
just faded away in the last.
They just did, and it was a reflection of Claremont kept hunting and eventually got that on the scoreboard. West Perth, they're obviously up there at the moment as well. So, these two teams obviously just missed out on finals last year, and they're two teams that should be playing finals, you'd think, if they're going to take that next step and elevate, but we know it's not as simple as that.
A win will mean a lot to their campaign, because obviously they've been a bit up and down this season, as I said, but they've both got very good players, as we said, with South Fremantle, and for West Perth, Kat Bennett, Zoe Huggett, Jess Roper, who's been exceptional on the ball, and Stacey Francis-Bateman. I thought she held her own in the back line last week in that loss to Swan Districts, especially in the second half. Her work restricting Swan Districts to just 3 behinds.
Yeah, especially coming back into the lineup in recent weeks as well. We shouldn't underestimate the continuity piece that she can continue to hold her ground with. But yeah, I think the ruck battle as well, you've got the likes of Newson in there for South Fremantle, Vandenberg as well, but you've got Cara in there for West Perth as well, who is obviously the leading draft candidate and made a return to footy on the weekend. So maybe that athletic profile can get the better of her South Fremantle opponents, but anytime you're probably outnumbered, not saying the likes of Fisher can't go into the ruck for West Perth, but obviously South Fremantle probably have those two mainstay rucks more so, where they'll try and get on top of her with the support of each other.
Because South Fremantle have a more flexible ruck stock, don't they? Especially with those two main options.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they have probably more seasoned rucks in terms of a bit more exposure at WAFL W level, but also just bigger bodies.
Both, of course, had round 4 defeats. Who does bounce back?
I've said West Perth, but I think South Fremantle they could win this. So I was kind of on the fence and tempted somewhat to go with South Fremantle, but I've said West Perth at home.
I had that same temptation, but I'm going to go with West Perth as well on Sunday morning. And then we conclude the round over at Revo Fitness Stadium on the WAFL YouTube channel, 2:10 p.m. on Sunday. It is Claremont and East Perth. And this one, while expected to be one-sided, got to give credit to East Perth. They're playing some really good football. Despite only having the 1 win on the board this season, they're starting to get better, especially the youngest players in the side.
They are, and they can take some confidence out of that game against Subiaco, as well as obviously a little bit against East Fremantle as well, despite not coming away with the win that they were after. Claremont, they're continuing to go strength from strength. Obviously that dominant win of Appeal, and then translating it to South Fremantle, where they weren't overly convincing, but that's probably a reflection of how good South Fremantle were as well. And I think they just overran them in the end through the likes of Smith. Sergeant Wilson had another great game. Harkin as well. The list goes on. And obviously Beck Anderson kicking a bag of 4, and Mia Jackson hitting the scoreboard for a second consecutive week. They'll look to build on that.
And they can't keep relying on Rachel Ortlup up in the forward line, and that's why the likes of Anderson and co have been able to get into the game and make that Claremont forward line less predictable than what it was in round one. We're always going to draw that comparison to that round one defeat because it was the apex of improvement for Claremont after that game because they've gone on to some pretty good wins since then.
Yeah, and I think if you ask Jack Schwartz what the most pleasing aspect of their wins from a forward line standpoint is that exact point if they're not relying on Rachel Olive, it feels like if she doesn't hit the scoreboard, then they can still comprehensively get the job done, which maybe hasn't been a thing of past, which is due to her success and her longevity. But yeah, the youngsters coming through like Anderson, Jackson as well, particularly because they're probably more key position players, and Olive has maybe had to play above her height in the past.
And don't forget Juliet Kelly is another key position player as well. She's going to be right up there in the contest.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of these people have been named or thereabouts in the WAFL W squad for the Sandful. So yeah, they're putting their use to good work.
Liz McGrath and Lucy Greenwood have been two standouts for East Perth. I reckon they've got themselves a really big task against the Claremont on-ballers.
They do, yeah, for sure. And it's not going to be easy. Hopefully they can hold their own for as long as possible. But yeah, I think strength in numbers obviously lies with Claremont in that department.
But as we said in the men's games for Sunday, the weather's going to play a really big part. It's going to be a bit slippery over there at Revo Fitness Stadium, and that could play to East Perth's advantage. They had a good win in round one against Peel in similar conditions, mind you, so they'll take a lot of learnings from that game.
Yeah, they will. Maybe that'll play into their favour, as we said, with the men's side of things.
Who does win?
Yeah, Claremont for mine. The rain obviously plays a little bit of a factor, but other than that, I think they should comprehensively get the job done.
Yeah, I'll say Claremont as well to continue on their winning ways. That's WAFL W round 5. All the matches on YouTube. Good luck with the call on Sunday morning. You've got yourself an early start too.
Yeah, should be good though. Obviously, hopefully the weather holds off for as long as possible.
Fingers crossed, no doubt about that. We're going to clear a break, and when we do come back, it is Ask Us Anything. Some of your questions relating to WAFL football as we look ahead to the Anzac Day weekend. It's all thanks to Sullivan Logistics, District Promotions, Front Row Screens, and Grant's Car Stereo. We'll be back with Ask Us Anything after this.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate.
On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
Back with us here on Around the WAFL as we look ahead to Anzac Day weekend, a great weekend on the WA Football Calendar. We're going to finish off, Rothy, with the return of Ask Us Anything. Some of your great questions, ladies and gentlemen, on Facebook and Instagram, and also on our YouTube page, and also on your podcast services as well. We got 3 questions, and Rothy, this first one's on you. Norman via Facebook has jumped on and said, Rothy, this one's for you. I think the state squad for the women's game in May is well balanced. Do they have a chance against South Australia? Because they've had the wood over us in recent years.
Yeah, I think they do have a chance. I think there would have been a lot of learnings taken from that game last year, and I think on home deck as well with the whole state behind them at the ground and feeling that love and support, I think, they should really back themselves to turn the tide around. So, as we had mentioned earlier in the show, good mix of youth and experience in there. And, if you're getting a game with this team, you truly deserve it.
Absolutely. It's a great honour to represent the state. Thank you, Norman. Really appreciate your question. Darren via Instagram says, hey, Paul, in that Swans game, do you think Pina and Collins show that they will be the Swans' key duo down the back line? They worked well in tandem in the last term. I think so. Just we said in our preview of the Swans-Eagles game, that is going to be the key role for Collins and Pina as that tandem down back to get them out of that defensive 50 and help the Swans repel into attack. Those two are going to be the key role players for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And they link up well because they have that defensive mindset, but then they can also go as well and be swung up the ground as we've seen Collins.
Absolutely. Cindy via our Instagram has said, "Hey guys, love the show." Thank you, Cindy. We love your support. Just a quick one on the state game. Is there any AFL action that weekend? Because I don't know what I've got for that day. I've got my son playing footy in the morning and I want to go to a footy game in the afternoon. No, there's no AFL action on that Saturday. Both the AFL teams are playing on the Sunday, so that does solve your dilemma there. So you can go see your son play footy in the morning and you can check out the state games in the afternoon. What better way to spend your Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's really good as well to identify those games, because obviously there's a lot of eyeballs on free on West Coast naturally. So to separate it a bit and still be able to cater for, a full day of footy with 3 big games, obviously the 18s, 20s game, the WAFL W versus Sandford and the WAFL and the Sandford. I think there's no excuses for people to get out in force.
Ladies and gentlemen, get yourselves there. May 16th, Sullivan Logistics Stadium. Cindy will be there, and we hope you will be there as well. Sullivan Logistics Stadium, Saturday, May 16th. Tickets available via Intix as well. It's going to be a big occasion. Rothy, welcome back. It's great to have you here, and we've got a bit of reshuffling here on Around the WAFL. Rothy, you're going to be with us in future for the Monday recap shows only. We're doing a little bit of reshuffling here on Around the WAFL with other commitments and all that sort of stuff, but you'll have all the great insight from all the 5 games and all the 4 WAFL W games from next week onwards. But at least, you're still involved in Around the WAFL. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, thank you for the support, Paul. Appreciate you having me back in the studio after a week off. But looking forward to the weekend and Mondays moving forward. So, all the best for your calls on Sunday as well. Obviously, looking forward to that Swan Districts and West Coast one in particular.
It's going to be a great one. And we look forward to hearing more of Shark Tales as well. A nice little plug for Rothy's great show, Shark Tales. Speaking with faces of the East Fremantle Football Club. Who have you got in store next?
Don't want to reveal too much. We've sort of changed things up a little bit. Obviously, the guest episode's still prominent, but now that the season is well and truly here, we're having a bit more of a reactionary take on, what's happening inside the 4 walls with, both results and, bits and pieces with Georgie Clevo, is a friend of the show, obviously well-known AFLW player with West Coast, and, getting, a look in the media side of things with her. So, reactionary content, some, players coming in and out. So I'll watch this space for the East Fremantle Football Club and, tune in if you can.
I'm looking forward to hearing the next episode, Shark Tales. Look for it on your podcast service. That's all what we have time for our preview show today here on Around the WAFL. We look forward to your company on Monday when we recap all the big action from the Anzac Day long weekend. You can check us out on YouTube and your podcast service anytime, any place, anywhere, and also on our socials, Facebook and Instagram. Have a great weekend of football. We'll see you on Monday.